About the Finnish-Egyptian relations in many domains here in Egypt. We're going to talk about this kind of project, and we're going to talk about how Egypt can learn from Finland in this field in particular and in other aspects as well, and to shed more light on this issue. We're very much delighted to have joining us here in the studio our guest, Mr. Roberto Tánzí, Albi, Finnish ambassador to Egypt, if I pronounced that right. Thank you very much for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, and of course we just wanted a brief overview of what this project entails and how it aims on improving eco-friendly environment here in Egypt.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. This project happens and is realized in Burj Al Arab together with the Japanese Egyptian University. This is a pilot project. The idea is to find the ways and means and analyze how a whole city, a whole town, a whole part of Alexandria could use eco-friendly energy, could plan its traffic in an eco-friendly way, to save water, energy. It's about waste management. It's like one package, and we think Burj Al Arab is very good target for this kind of thing, because it's a combination of higher learning. There is a university. It's an urban area. It's a growing suburb, which with new apartments, but it's also an industrial area. So since it combines all these three things, it is something that can be used as a kind of a trial case also. So we are hoping that once this project is ended, it will give us the information and the data to develop this idea further.
Yes. Mr. Ambassador, how much support is the Finnish government giving to Egypt for such a project, particularly because Egypt is one of the countries that is highly polluted and populated, and this kind of eco-friendly project is very new to the culture here in Egypt, and especially if they're thinking of having such plans implemented in a crowded city like Cairo, for instance. So in the term of the Finnish government's role, how much of support is it giving to Egypt?
Well, I think what Finland can give to Egypt is capacity building, training, best practices, and then we have good technological solutions that probably would help Egypt. Since we are a small country ourselves with limited resources, we probably could never give you money enough to solve your problems. And this project is a good example. The money involved is not huge. We are talking about 500,000 euros. But we have Finnish expertise behind it, plus Egyptian expertise, which is resided in the Egyptian Japanese University. I'm happy to be able to say that when we have a long-standing cooperation relationship with Egypt. It started in 1977. And all projects we have done with Alexandria have somehow been realized around the theme of environment. So this is not the first environmental project. There are others, and it's a tradition in Alexandria, and I think this kind of long-standing commitment is the kind of thing that Finland can offer.
Why did the project managers and the directors that you included, why did you choose Alexandria in particular? Why not a place here in Cairo?
As I said, there is a tradition. We are doing things in Cairo also, but there is a tradition for some reason that we have done environmental things precisely in Alexandria. There is a hazardous waste management plant in Alexandria, which was donated by Finland. It started to be operative approximately 10 years ago. It's the only one still in Egypt, and it was a Finnish grant and donation and done with Finnish technology and know-how. And there are other things also, especially to do with hazardous waste.
Yes.
You know.
Mr. Master, allow us to have this phono with Dr. Ahmed Khayri, the head of Egypt-Japan University of Science and Technology. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Doctor, can you tell us more about the aspects of this project, the eco-friendly project in Burj Al Arab, and what are the steps taken so far?
Indeed, we have a very ambitious project in collaboration with Finland to convert the city of Burj Al Arab into an industrial eco-city. This project is planned to be a model project, which is fully funded in its first phase, where we conduct a comprehensive feasibility study to look at all the images of technology, livelihood, facilities, transport, and all ecological dimensions based on unique experience that the Finnish have developed worldwide. And for that, the new Burj Al Arab city, where the Egypt-Japan University of Science and Technology is located, will be the first industrial city in Egypt to go green.
Dr. Ahmed Khayri, I wanted to ask you about the future of a green life here in Egypt. Do you think that this could be actualized in a country like Egypt, especially because it's highly populated, and of course, as we know, the pollution in the country, especially in the cities like Cairo, it's overly polluted as well?
Absolutely. Egypt can convert all industrial facilities and all sources of pollution to be an adverse effect, I mean a positive effect. In many other countries where pollution was much more dramatic and more damaging to the livelihood of people, many countries succeeded to change the situation. And I can just tell you a quick example that India and China, for example, have suffered tremendously from pollution and from the wrong selection of technologies. You're true describing the situation in Egypt as difficult since many industries started without planning. And many production facilities have been selected technically and not based on any ecological or environmental friendly basis. For that reason, we are seeking to develop a kind of diagnosed system that will spot those technologies which are most polluting and try to offer the alternatives. This is for whatever available now in New Burj Al Arab, for example, or in 10th of Ramadan, or in 6th of October, or any other industrial complex in Egypt. Second step is to draft a prescription that will be taken forward to offer a selection of new facilities of production. So we make it conditional and tight for selecting only green and environmental friendly production facilities. Third, and the most important, we are emphasizing very much on educational environment and common culture. And for that we have in the team, which is working now in New Burj Al Arab, inside the university within this project with Finland, to attract as many as we can non-governmental societies, NGOs, and to invite the administration of education systems in New Burj Al Arab and surrounding. And we try to implement some attractive techniques of environmental friendly thinking, acting, and innovation.
Well,
Very well. Dr. Ahmed Khayri, the head of Egypt, Japan University of Science and Technology, thank you for joining us. Back again to you, Mr. Ambassador. You said we spoke earlier about the Finnish experience and expertise that can be shared here in Egypt, and it's not the first kind of cooperation of its kind. Can you tell us about what other bilateral ties are between Egypt and Finland, and in what fields in particular?
Well, the cooperation can be, I think, in a way divided in two parts. It was very much evolving, I think, around environment earlier. I think now we are concentrating more on human resources. This is something we would like to cooperate with Egypt, and it in my mind uppermost is the education. We are hoping to see in the future more cooperation in this field. This is something that both me and my friend, your ambassador in Helsinki, have been working with. And the other is the ICT, information and technology. This is a promising field. There is growth in Egypt in this field, a hefty growth even after the revolution. And Finland is a high technology country, and we hope that in this field we find ways of cooperation. Also commercially, I mean, there are opportunities for Finnish companies here, which we would like to use, and so I would say these fields: smart, green economy, green production, and smart solutions in this field, and then education.
How does this encourage Finnish-Egyptian cultural relations as well?
Well, the more there is interaction between people and companies and NGOs and societies, even in these fields, it does add to that. I think a lot, yes.
And the first question that comes to mind now is why Egypt in particular? I mean, why has the Finnish state decided to invest so much in Egypt?
You are a gateway to Africa, and you are biggest country in North Africa, and you are also the biggest Arab nation, and biggest country in the Middle East and North Africa region. So I think it's natural. Egypt has a strategic location. I mean, as it's where it is, and it has the Suez Canal. I think it's a natural destination for everybody, not only for Finland, and I think this is one of the reasons. And particularly I mentioned the ICT sector because I think you are a leading country in North Africa in this field, and it's a growing sector. The mobile phone penetration and the internet penetration is actually quite respectable in Egypt.
It's growing.
Yeah, it's growing, yes.
Mr. Ambassador, building up also on Reem's question, in such cooperation between two countries like Finland and Egypt, and you said it's important to share experience and possibly some kind of mutual concerns in whether it's in the ICT field or in the eco-friendly environment. Does Finland provide, for instance, scholarships, educational scholarships, or some kind of training that could help Egyptian experts to go to Finland and actually see on the ground the kind of technology and advancement a country like Finland is providing?
Yeah, we have instruments. We have development cooperation instruments, national. The one, for instance, which is used in this project, and Burj Al Arab. But there are others also for exchange of persons and people, and for scholarships. And then we should not forget European Union. Finland is a net contributor in European Union, and EU is active here. And of course, the EU programs are much bigger in volume when it comes when we are speaking about money, and we can also use those instruments. For instance, I'm happy to say that there are two EU twinning projects going on now here in Egypt, both having to do with education. So they are funded by Egypt, but they are realized by Finland, by Finnish personnel. This is another way how we can contribute. We give the expertise and then the money comes from EU. And of course originally there's Finnish money in it because we are an EU country.
What were some of the difficulties or the obstacles that you face in implementing this project here in Egypt?
Well, it's always, you know, the projects take their time, and there's nothing Egypt specific in it. It's just that when the project world is something where it involves bureaucracy in both countries, both in Finland and in Egypt, and sometimes in the European Union also. So it's mostly, you know, like domestic issues in everyday life, that you have to do practical things. But otherwise, I mean, Egyptians are very receptive to cooperation. They are enthusiastic. No, this is a good country to do cooperation, definitely.
Now, of course, as you said, this is not the only sector where you are cooperating here in Egypt and investing in Egypt. I know that recently a musical band from Finland came to Egypt to perform here, and there was a musical cooperation, a Finnish-Egyptian musical cooperation. If you can speak to us a little bit about that and the cultural enrichment that would come out of such a program.
Yeah, we are happy and proud to be able to say that we have cultural cooperation with Egypt, even though the countries are relatively far away from each other, because we are at the Baltic Sea and you are here at the Mediterranean, but we always say that we are neighbors through European Union. So Finland is in a way also a Mediterranean country. Yes, we have a cultural agreement, and there has been cooperation. And one thing which is particularly dear for me is the cooperation we are having with the Conservatoire, Cairo Conservatoire, and with the opera. There's a musical bridge which is a yearly evenement, and it has been organized 6 times so far now. It's a master class for talented Egyptian musicians, and we've been doing it 6 times. And this year, again, there are 4 or 5 talented Egyptians who will go for additional training in Finland. So this bridge brings Finnish masters here for 2 weeks to give master classes to young talented Egyptian musicians. And the best of them are selected to go for additional training in Finland. This is one of the things we are doing, maybe the most important, and it's very dear to us in the embassy.
Mr. Ambassador, after the revolution, the role of women has changed here in Egypt, and we know that in Finland women play a very important role in the society and even in the political life. They have reached to various positions, key positions in the country, such as the Minister of Defense, for instance. How can women in Finland or women institutions in Finland help support women here in Egypt and have them play a more vital role in the political life?
Well, this is actually an important sector in our cooperation. When we are doing these things, cooperating here in Egypt, the women factor, if I can call it that, it's somehow it's always present, and it is important for us. And in our contacts with the Egyptians, we always try to promote this idea that there is a lot of potential in women. But of course, we do that also in respecting the local culture. And I see that also here I can see that there is a lot of dynamics in Egypt that is receptive to this message. And yes, we are very keen in promoting. But we can do that by giving our own example. That is the best way we can do it. I mean, to telling, we can tell about the Finnish experience and how it has been a source, a resource for us, you know, a source of the richness of the nations. That's how we do it. We are not, there's no need to preach.
For yesterday, you met with Sheikh Al-Azhar Ahmed Al-Tayyib. We wanted to know what came out of that meeting and what was really the aim of meeting with Sheikh Al-Azhar.
Well, it's, I meet him every now and then. I have been lucky to meet him several times, and we were discussing about bilateral cooperation. I mean, there are a growing Islamic community, Muslim community in Finland, and we think that Al-Azhar is one of the foremost Islamic or Muslim institutions in the world, and it plays an important role in this field. And we were actually speaking about practical cooperation when it comes to education and training and schooling, and it was actually part of this mission that we have to have more cooperation in the training field, and in this case we are talking about training of imams.
Mr. Ambassador, after the revolution, the field of tourism has been affected greatly here in Egypt. Would you tell us about the number or the type of Finnish tourists that come here in Egypt? What are they most likely interested in to, and have that changed, that number changed after the revolution?
Egypt is a winter destination for Finland. Your winter is like our summer, and and people love to come here. Maybe you think that it's cold here in winter, but the Finns think that it's warm.
But it must be super hot right now here for you.
Yeah, that's right. And so the Red Sea is the main destination. We, the Finnish tourists, traditionally go to Red Sea. But the Nile Valley was important also, not so much in numbers, in the sense that if we look what is the composition of Finnish tourists who come here, I would say that 90% of them have always gone to Red Sea, and then the 10% came to Nile Valley, mainly to cruises and to Luxor, and some to Alexandria also. Cairo. What has happened after the revolution, that unfortunately the Nile Valley has suffered a lot, and this 10% of the segment has almost disappeared. But the Finns are still going to the Red Sea. Of course, there was the numbers went down 2011, but they have picked up in 2012. But we are not at the record year was 2010. There were 80,000 Finnish tourists coming to Egypt, and we are a nation of 5.3 million, and we have other destinations we go. If I tell you an example to make a comparison, there's about 100,000 Finns go to Thailand, 300,000 go to Greece, 100,000 go to Turkey. So Egypt was 80,000. Wow. So and it's a winter destination like Thailand. Turkey is a summer destination, and Greece. So we were at 80,000 and it was growing. It went down to 45,000. Now we are probably this year we might reach 60,000. So we are 20% like this less than we used to be at the record.
Well, just building on Yasmin's question, I mean, since you've chosen Egypt to be a pinpoint for your investments and cooperation, and as you see, I mean, maybe things have been up and down after the revolution, but generally it's somewhat safe here, especially for tourists. So are you trying to, to encourage, since you are here, are you doing any efforts in order to encourage Finnish people to visit?
Well, the task of the embassy is to look for cooperation and promote it, and what we are trying to the message we are trying to give to Finland is that, for instance, when it comes to tourism, is that, you know, Red Sea is a safe place, and you can go there, and we have a travel advisory that mainly speaks, identifies places if you don't, if you're not supposed to go there, and not, you know, and if you can travel without any worries. I mean, we are not highlighting that, and I think this is manifested in the fact that the Finnish agencies are organizing trips to the Red Sea.
Mr. Ambassador, if we're going to talk about the other way around, because also due to the circumstances here in Egypt, a lot of people are deciding to go out of Egypt for their summer holidays, and Turkey has become very popular during the past couple of years because of the Turkish series that are being aired on Arab channels, satellite channels. So if if Finland would encourage Egyptians to visit Finland, what are the landmark places that one can go see?
Well, I think there are two seasons. If you like skiing and something exotic, I would recommend winter, because it would be different. I mean, in winter there would be a lot of snow, and we have Lapland with reindeers well, who is interested of Christmas traditions? Those Egyptians, they would be probably interested of Santa Claus and so forth. Then summer is very green. It's short, but it's beautiful. It's green. We have a lot of lakes. We have thousands of islands in an beautiful archipelago in the west, in the southwest. So those would be the things that I would. But I would say that there's a lot of room, there's a lot of nature, there's a lot of silence, there's a lot of calm. So the Egyptians, and especially from people from Cairo, if you want to get somewhere which is not crowded, come to Finland.
It's a lot different than
Yes,
Egypt.
that's right.
Very peaceful. Now, you mentioned earlier, and you talked about education. Now, I wanted to ask you about education opportunities in Finland, and since you're cooperating with Egypt, are there any programs that you're offering people here in Egypt to go and study abroad in Finland, for example? Or could this be something in the future that you may focus on?
Well, there are good postgraduate programs in Finland in the best Finnish universities. That's something that I could recommend to anybody. But of course, these and also it's not expensive actually to study in Finland, in the sense that the universities are not costly. So these programs are not costly. But of course, living
in Finland
costs are high in Finland. That I have to say, unfortunately.
Ambassador Roberto Tánzí, Albi, Finnish ambassador to Egypt, thank you very much for joining us here on Nile International.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It's been very enriching. Thank you so much for joining us. Right now, we're going to go to a brief report to look at some light entertainment news from all around the world, and we'll be right back with more on the breakfast show, so please stay tuned.
These flip-flops are making the long journey to Kenya's beautiful shores. They come in their hundreds, carried by the ocean currents from local resorts and from as far away as Malaysia. Lost or discarded flip-flops spoil the natural beauty of the beaches and are a disaster for the environment. But for these local residents, they have recently become a source of income. The Johnson Carriza says in collecting the flip-flops, he's doing two jobs at once. Once collected from the shores, the flip-flops are transported to a Nairobi-based recycling company. They are partly named the Flip-Flop Recycling Company. Here at the company's workshops and recycling hub, the workers make about 100 different products from the discarded flip-flops. When the flip-flops arrive at the facility, workers wash them. Then artisans then glue together the various colors, carve the products, sand and rewash them, and finally send them to the shop as a finished product for sale. From animals to book covers to bowls and more. Company founder Julia Church says she helps to create products people want to buy and then make them interested in the object's history. And much of that story appears to be in the flip-flops journey to Kenya. The company employs over 50